Hey guys, welcome back to Attack on TCG. Fluff here, coming at you with a new deck profile. Last week we got a video request from Johnny Guitar Cash who wanted to see a budget Android deck. Now, one of the big problems with Androids is Cell came out in Union Force. I believe the super rare is somewhere between $15 and $17 as of today's recording. We're in the second week of December 2018. So I decided to build this deck together. This deck only costs, going by median prices, by market prices on TCG Player, $42 to build, exactly $41.72. A lot of the cards were even cheaper, like a lot of them were listed around 11 cents for market price, but you could get them for around 4 cents. There were really only two expensive cards in the deck. This is a fun deck to play. It's quite defensive. If I were going to competitively build Androids for like a nationals or regional, I wouldn't build it this way. I would of course include the Cell engine, but this is really fun if you're playing at locals or playing with friends. He wanted to see this build, so I'm going to get right into it. So we've got the Android 17 leader. Allows you to reduce the energy cost of 17 and 18 in your hand by 1. When your life is at 6 or less life, flip this card over and draw 2 cards. On the backside, we have that same permanent, reduce the energy cost of 17 and 18 in your hand by 1. And then if your life is 4 or less, all Android 17 and 18 gain 5,000, including the leader, and whenever this card attacks, draw 1. So kind of looking at where the format is at right now, this is really nice. This deck doesn't draw nearly as fast as other decks in the format. It stands a little bit better of a chance against stuff like Milnimba. It can beat a couple Shenron decks. It can absolutely hold its own. It's pretty defensive in its own right. So with that being said, I'm going to move into the meat of the deck. We do start out one of our non-Android cards that we play. We run 3 of the Newfound Power Sun Gohan. We use this guy to get ourselves self-awakened. So when Gohan attacks, you get to take 1 from your life. He gains 10,000 power and critical, making him 15,000 for crit. This card suffered a little bit because of Crisis Crusher, but it's good in game 1 if your opponent's not running Crisis Crusher. I do still really love this card. I love its effect for getting the androids to flip over, making your early game a little more aggressive. I did only run 3 because Crisis Crusher is a possibility, and we don't want this card to be dead. Then moving into some of our android stuff, we do run 4 of the Dr. Zero's Evil Inventor. When you play this card, you are going to look at the top 3 cards of your deck and grab 1 Android card. So this is their character trait, not in their name. So this could grab a Cell, this could grab a Super 17. This can basically grab most things in the deck, except for, I think we play 3 cards that don't fit under this. So we do run 4 of those. It's an excellent turn 1. It's good at pretty much any stage in the game. So we do naturally run 4 of those. Then we're running into, because we are running Android 17 as leader, we want to play the Destined Krillin. This is a free drop blocker. If you have an Android 18 on the field, you get to drop her or drop this card for free. So because it's our leader, we always have one. This card is always live. It's always good to play. It's good for being defensive. I run 3 of these. I wanted to run 4, but I had to make room for a couple of the other things in the deck. Then we do run 2 of the Endless Malice 17. These are awesome for getting our sparkling effects off on some of the Super 17 cards. It's burst 3. When you attack, he gains 5,000 power and critical. This is another really awesome card. This deck likes to swing for critical, denying your opponents their resources. So we do run these. He becomes 15,000 with crit, which is absolutely respectable for a 2-drop. Now, keep in mind that this card will not drop to a 1 cost because of its specified cost of 2 green, which is not reduced by the leader. So you have to keep that in mind, that this card will not reduce itself to 1 in this deck. But on the backside, he will get the 5,000 boost because he is technically considered an Android 17, making him a 20,000 with crit, which is really respectable in this format. For our super combo, I'm kind of going by energy cost here. Our super combo, we are running the defensive stance Super Saiyan Vegeta. You could play the Super Combo 16, though I much prefer the ability to guarantee myself the draw more than making my opponent lose a resource. This is more beneficial. Plus, this one, even if you don't have the Sparkling 5 on it, gets you the automatic 10,000 for a combo, which can be great early game if you end up against something that's a little more aggressive and dwindling you down faster than you expected. I do really love this super combo. It doesn't fit our Dr. Gero search. This is one of the only ones that doesn't. So that's probably my only negative to this as opposed to playing the 16 super combo. But we do still like this one. It's a 2-drop for 15,000 if you're in a pinch. Also not bad. Then we do run 3 of the Dreadful Duo Android 18. She is going to be a critical striker. And then her activate main once per turn, 1 green energy. During your turn, if your opponent's battle card with an energy cost of 4 or more has been placed in the drop area due to any of your skills, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 3 or less and KO that card. We do run a couple cards in the deck that let us get this ability off. So when we're going full in, she only costs us 2 green energy. She's a critical. If we're at 4 or less life, she's going to be 20,000. These are just awesome. They synergize well with the deck. I didn't want to run 4 because they get a little clunky, but they're always safe charges as well because we don't require Android 18 in this deck for making cells. We can freely charge her. She's good to have on the field, and I really do like her. Then we get into our Deadly Defender Android 18. I do really like the Deadly Defender cards. They're really good against protecting. I do feel like the Deadly Defenders are a little slow this format, but they can save you in a pinch from a Shenron's triple attack, or you can sit on them and waste and make your opponent waste resources to get over them if you're protecting them. But if your opponent goes hard against a Deadly Defender, just let it go. Don't let yourself waste resources to save this card if it's not doing anything for you to win the game. If it keeps you from taking a life a few times, then it's done its job. But I do like these. She does drop to being only a 2 cost in this deck, which is awesome for one of the Deadly Defenders. So we do run 3 of her. Then kind of as another blocker, we run 2 of the Energy Guard Android 17. He does have a blocker. He will become a 2 cost in this deck. You can attack with him at the end of the turn. You restand him, so you can freely be aggressive with this card while leaving yourself with some form of defense. I would have liked to have played more, but I kind of ran out of things that I wanted to drop in the deck for these. So I do suggest playing these. I really like the blocker. Retap Vaughn. It reminds me of the Vaughn from Universe 11. They're really great cards. I can't speak greater about them. They've protected me during a few games, and it's just one of those that it's really nice to have. Looking at the Dreadful Duo Android 17, we also run 3 of these. He, like the Android 17, also has critical, and then once per turn for 1 green energy. If your opponent's battle card with an energy cost of 3 or less has been placed in the drop area due to one of your skills, choose 1 Android 18 with an energy cost of 3 or less from your hand and play it. So I think we run 6 targets for this card in the deck. As long as you've got an Android 18 in your hand, this card is fantastic. And you'll see that as we get into kind of the Hellfighter 17s and Super 17s, that this effect is actually pretty easy to get off. Then we do run 4 of the Hellfighter 17 Revived. So this one, as note, just kind of discussing this card real quick. It is a 3 energy. It's got Barrier and then Union Absorb. You place 1 Android 17 from your hand or drop area under this card, then choose 1 Super 17 card with an energy cost of 4 or less and place it on top of this card. Shuffle your deck if you look through it. One of the things that I would like to address about this card is that it's not an Android 17. It is a Hellfighter. So you are going to have to pay the 3 energy for this card. But we do run a lot to help you find these cards. We do run 4 of these. There's no reason to run less. It's a good card to have. You want to be able to see this. You want your Super 17 line to get started as fast as possible, which is usually going to be turn 3. So 4 is a must with this card. Then kind of one of the more expensive cards in the deck, though I think one that is amazing, is the Limitless Energy Android 17. So these cards are about $5 a piece if you're looking for the non-foil versions. They've got barrier, blocker, and then auto. When you play this card, if your leader card is green, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. Absolutely amazing. This is one of my favorite cards that came out of the Ultimate box. This to me, this and Vegito were the 2 best cards out of that. I do love this. He becomes a 3 cost in this deck. He becomes a 25,000 in this deck once you're at 4 life or less. I wouldn't run an Android deck without this card. This just reminds me of the old Piccolo the Strategist. That was the promo card early in the days of the game. We do run 3 of these. I wanted to reduce the cost of the deck. Otherwise, I would probably be inclined to run 4 of these. And also, if you didn't have these, but you had Combo Killer and Zilla, that's probably another one to include in here. But then again, you're running into the idea of a slightly more expensive card. But I do love these, and you should pick up the Ultimate box if you don't have one. It's just a great box to have in, like, a lot of the stuff in there was a lot of fun to play with. Back towards the Android, the Super 17, we run Super 17 to further heights. This guy has Barrier Deflect. When you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. This is another way that we can get the Dreadful Duos off. And backing up for just a second, he gets your Dreadful Duos abilities off. So keep that in mind when you play these 2 cards. His Union Absorb does cost 4 energy. So usually the play is on turn 3, you're going to play the Hellfighter 17. Then you're going to play this on turn 4. You're going to play the Union Absorb with this card on turn 4 after it's saved itself. You've got to grab a cell from your hand or drop area to be able to play him. We do run 1 cell in this deck. And then you'll find the 6-drop Super 17 off of this card. So it's essential for that chain. Alternatively, the promo Super 17 that is a 4-drop that does not have Union Absorb on it is amazing. But right now, as of filming, those are about $12 a piece. So they're not super affordable. They're not easy to find right now. A lot of people who are doing tournaments are trying to get their play sets. But I would encourage, if you've got a couple of them, throw them in here. They're absolutely amazing. But this guy's good in his own right, especially for being a stepping stone. The only cell that we played in this deck is the Infernal Villainy cell. So this is like the Unbreakable Super Saiyan Son Goku. You pay 1, combo with it, it's 10,000, you get to draw a card. If you had to hard cast him and put him on the field, he's a 4 cost for critical for 20,000, which is also not terrible. You know, that keyword critical is absolutely amazing in this format. But this is going to be the card that you are going to use to play into the Cell Absorbed. This is the only cell target. Usually in Androids, you do want to run the cell chain, but this guy will get the job done just as easily. It might be a little more difficult. It might be a little less inconsistent as far as finding it or having it available when you need it, but this guy's awesome. I play him in a couple other decks that I built, and I just love it. I love it as much as I loved the Unbreakable Super Saiyan Son Goku, and maybe a little bit more, but we do run 4. And then we do run 2 of the Super 17 Cell Absorbed. You could run 3, but with as few cell as we actually have in this deck, I didn't want to clog the deck up with these guys, especially when you have such a strong mid to late game as far as being defensive and being able to drop androids fast for reduced cost. This is one of those things you should shoot for it, but if you don't have it, don't stress. The deck is plenty defensive, it's plenty aggressive in its own way. This just kind of makes everything a little bit better. He's got crit, dual attack, and deflect on him, and then sparkling 10. So you have to have 10 cards in the drop zone to get this guy off. If your leader card is a green android and this card attacks, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand and places them in the drop area. This is devastating. If you're getting this off 2 or 3 times, it's a lot like that old blue Barris. If you're getting this card's effect off multiple times, you're winning. You're just denying your opponent resources. You can easily empty their hand, especially if you manage to get 2 of them on the field at once. They're dropping 8 cards from their hand to turn. Plus, he's got dual attack, and that 20,000, comboed is not super terrible. You also have to keep in mind that he does not gain the 5,000 boost from the leader because he's not technically an Android 17. So keep that in mind, but one of my favorite cards to come out of Miraculous Revival, and I love playing with this card. I love playing against this card. I hope to see more support for him specifically, so people have the option of moving away from Cell Chain and moving more towards the directed Super 17 stuff. Moving into our non-battle card stuff, we do play 3 of the Infernal Messenger. It's a 1 cost. When you play it, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You grab 1 Android 17, 1 Hellfighter 17, or you grab any 2 of Android 17, Hellfighter 17, and Super 17. So this is amazing. You're looking at the top 10 of your deck, and we do play, as you've seen, we play a lot of 17s, we play a lot of Hellfighters, we play a lot of Super 17s. So we do want this. I couldn't make room for 4. I didn't really see a need for it, but you could absolutely play 4. I chose to play 3, just that felt more consistent to me. And then looking at our last card is our counter negate. We do play the Shocking Death Ball. Shocking Death Ball is fantastic. I think these negates kind of changed the way that a lot of people approach roguey decks that aren't running blue, that have a ton of energy management. It helps you self-awaken if you're negating a double strike, or you don't have to tap an energy to negate. You can you can take an energy from your life and negate. And then this is also like the full power energy, in that when it negates, you also pick one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 2 or less and KO it. So fantastic negate. You could play Speedy Recover or Speedy Surprise Attack in this deck, and you could absolutely play King Vegeta's Surprise Attack in this, but you don't have to. I like where this sits. I didn't see the need for additional negates or additional defenses, especially considering we have all the blockers in this deck. But there it is. That's my budget Android 17-18 deck. Again, this deck only costs $41.72. If you're new to the game and you want a good place to start, I feel like this is a good way to start that's not a starter deck. Everything in this deck is super cheap, and the most that you're going to spend on the deck is going to be those 3 I put up 4, but I meant 3, are going to be those 3 Limitless Energy Limitless Energy 17s. Those together will cost you about $18 to get a play set of those. Or you can spend, $50-$60 and get the ultimate box that has all kinds of promos for you. It's a good way to get in. The holiday season is coming up. It's a good gift for someone. If you've got a friend who wants to get into this game, this is a perfect deck to buy someone. It costs near nothing to make. A lot of the stuff is really easy to get. And then, save your pennies, save up for cells, get cells, because that's really the next place to go with this deck. The deck is super fun. It's not the most consistent thing in the world, even when you're running cells. That's really the thing that beats cell. Cell beats itself in its inconsistency. Every time that I've played it, if I beat them, it was because they weren't consistent enough to genuinely do what they wanted to do. And this deck is honestly a little bit more consistent as far as playing tempo. So that's a big aspect of this game. But if you have any comments, suggestions, if you all want to see any deck profiles, if you want to see any budget decks, we're more than happy to take requests. I know next week, I think we've got a Pan deck that someone wanted to see. Bancroft's got a deck coming this week, and then I'm going to show you what this deck does against a meta deck. So hopefully we can pull out the win on that. We haven't recorded it yet, so I legitimately don't know, but I'm rooting that we are going to stomp the meta deck in the dirt with this. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good day.